Hello there, my name is Luciano Oliveira. I'm a Brazilian attorney, also licensed in California and Texas. And today I'm going to answer this question. Is a Brazilian bank account required for me to manage the inherited assets in a probate in Brazil? And the answer is potentially not, as long as you are able to get a temporary bank account with a currency exchange bank to simply receive the monies that you're going to receive through the probate and have this money exchanged into your currency and released in your country of residency. Let's talk a little bit about the basic requirements for a foreign citizen participating in a probate in Brazil. The main requirement is going to be a Brazilian tax ID known as a CPF. The CPF is going to be required so you can participate in the probate, even if you're not planning to stay in Brazil or to keep the assets for the long term. You're also going to need your passport. You're going to need a power of attorney to have representation by an attorney usually, or another heir who's going to represent you in the probate, as well as paperwork for your spouse if you have one. Now, let's think about some of the assets you may potentially receive in a probate in Brazil. Let's say if you are receiving real estate, for the real estate to be distributed by the court is going to need to assign you a share of each piece of real estate. So potentially at the end of the probate, you would basically have your name added to those properties titles. There wouldn't be necessarily money because, again, what you're getting is a share in a real estate property. So at this stage, again, for the real estate, you don't actually need a bank account because you're not getting any money out of the property unless there is a decision by the heirs to rent this property out until the property is finally sold and then the money is distributed. On the other side, if there are bank accounts, let's say if the deceased had a savings account in a bank or was keeping a lot of money in a checking account, this money is going to be ready to be distributed right at the end of the probate. And then yes, for this type of asset, naturally, you're going to need a bank account to receive the monies. A Brazilian court will never send the money abroad, and one of the reasons for that is because Brazil has a history of super regulation of monies entering and leaving the country. And therefore, again, the judge is not going to even consider the possibility of sending money abroad. Another common question is, can I have the money sent to a sibling instead of abroad, since the judge is not going to authorize the money to go abroad? And the answer is yes, sometimes a judge is going to allow, but usually the court is going to want to send the money to an account on your name, because then the court is going to know that the money is going to go to you with certainty. Let's expand a little bit more and talk about the foreign citizen's perspective on the bank account thing. Foreign citizens in Brazil are usually not able to open regular bank accounts because banks are going to want to see your legal resident card in Brazil. And of course, if you don't have a plan to live in Brazil, you're not going to be applying for this card because it's going to require a complete immigration process before you can get the card. You can't just ask for a resident card, as you may probably imagine. On the other hand, there are the so-called non-resident bank accounts, which do not require you to be a resident in order to get one. Unfortunately, most of the traditional Brazil banks, they are going to ask for you to invest a lot of money in their banks in order for them to give you the non-resident bank account. Thankfully, nowadays there are currency exchange banks who make easier for you to get a non-resident bank account. I'm going to share a link in the description below for a list of the banks authorized by the Brazilian Central Bank to handle currency exchange and potentially the non-resident bank account in Brazil. Very important, we usually here at the firm, we work only with banks. In this list, you're going to see a bunch of players. There are small agencies and other players that we do not usually recommend you to work with, but the currency exchange banks do face a high degree of regulation, and therefore we even have a partnership with some of them to assist our clients when sending money coming from an inheritance to their countries of origin. Interesting to note that even if you don't have cash at the end of a probate, for instance, when the assets are all real estate, in the future, you may very well need such a bank account to receive the monies. If you need help either with the inheritance, probate, or just to have your money sent to your country of origin, you may want to schedule a consultation with our office and have all your questions answered. I hope these tips were helpful, and I hope to see you in our next videos.